So Echo dropped this past Tuesday. Last week I dropped a video about why I wasn't excited but interested in the show. Go check that out for more context for this video, but basically Echo was/is not one of my favorite characters. I don't think she's anybody's favorite character, but the character isn't super exciting or popular by any means. I wouldn't exactly call her Z-list, but before Hawkeye and this show, she probably was floating around, I'd say, the D or C list in terms of characters. Now, this was a very unique Marvel show because of the nature of all the episodes dropping at once, it being TVMA, having a deaf lead in Alaqua Cox, and it also is the first of the Marvel Spotlight series, Marvel's line of more mature character-driven stories. Now, truthfully, this show was hard to get through for me. I was almost not going to finish it, but it's not because it was necessarily bad. A lot of it was getting spoiled on Twitter, but basically, I just didn't really care. After finishing it though, I was pretty set on never watching it again. My opinion on the show was more negative, but for the purposes of judging it fairly, I watched it once more and came away liking it more than I thought I would. It's still not on the level of the Netflix shows or even Loki, but it did do a lot of good, even though there was some bad stuff as well that we'll get into. I'll give you guys my rating. The whole story and plot is basically Maya dipping from New York after she shot Kingpin and goes back home to Oklahoma. While there, she sends a final message to Fisk and his associates by planning a bomb on his shipment that gets sent to New York, and the goons get dealt with in a fiery blaze, which I'm kind of just like, why did she even do that if she thought that Fisk was dead? But no matter. There is a goon at the reservation that recognizes Maya and brings the trouble home, meaning Fisk comes through and essentially offers her an empire if she comes back with him to New York. And in the finale, Maya earns herself a super suit, which I really don't like. I don't think it looks good. I can't see her, and I know this is crazy to say, but I can't see her wearing that in New York. Even with all the crazy suits in the MCU, especially with Daredevil running around, even though that suit is like goated with the sauce, I can't see her wearing this suit. This look is just way better in my opinion. Irregardless, and she meets up with Fisk at the Choctaw powwow where he and his goons plan to fuck everyone up unless Maya joins him, but Maya does some like Avatar The Last Airbender type shit and conveys with her ancestors and fucks everyone up. This really threw me off seeing this in the show, but she uses this special ability to go inside Kingpin's mind and take him back to one of his most vulnerable points when he was a kid, scared when his father would beat his mother. It ends with Fisk just dipping and everything being okay in the end, and Maya having restored several of her strained relationships that she's been avoiding repairing all these years, with the post-credit scene alluding to Fisk eventually becoming mayor. And honestly, with that and the tech he was using, it makes me more inclined to believe he was the one who bought Stark Tower. I mean, if he's supposed to be the street level Thanos, then I think it would make sense to see a Fisk Tower pop up in New York. As far as the bad goes, I think honestly the latter half of the show felt rushed. I'm glad the show was only 5 episodes long and it dropped all at once. I probably would have been more upset if I had to wait 5 weeks for that finale, but the show, if it did one thing right, it was only a 3-hour commitment and it respected our time. But I feel like because of that, each episode should have been a bit longer so we could have sat in some emotions instead of what we got, which felt like a finale that was going through the motions. I think the TVMA parts were great, really good improvement on the action, good choreography, dynamic camera work. It got bloody and violent. Even when it got kooky with the powers they incorporated into Maya's character, I imagine they did that to get her name from the comics, Echo, in somehow because of the spirit of her ancestors. It like echoes through her. Little kooky in and of itself, unlike in the comics where she's just able to mimic moves. That's why she's called Echo. Now, the powers kind of threw me out of it a bit. Like in the first episode, the beginning of this show, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, is this about to be some Eternals type shit? I thought we were doing grounded street level stuff here. I'm all for fantasy and heightened realism and whatnot, but the powers did really throw me off. They're also quite nebulous. Like, I don't know how they work and like what the fuck the extent of them even is. I think while the show has a good tone and is mature, I feel like it's still a bit held back when it didn't need to be. There's a short dilemma where we're shown Maya being quite ambiguous in whether she's good or bad, which is fine, but I felt like we could have sat with that a little bit longer. Some of the dialogue just doesn't hit for me, but for the most part, it's made up for by everything else. I think in terms of issues people have had with the MCU and MCU shows, this one did have difficulty sticking the landing with the finale, and in terms of pacing, I think it had issues. I believe it was supposed to be 6 episodes, but they cut it down to 5 because they were trying to fix pacing issues, which is kind of ironic. I feel like most of the same issues persisted, except now with TVMA, the 5 episodes all dropping happening at once, and Vincent D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk, the 14 seconds of Daredevil, which if you were watching this show just to see Daredevil,
don't ever disrespect yourself like that.
All of these things really made up for some of the persistent problems, but didn't necessarily resolve them. It was cool seeing the criminal perspective of Daredevil coming through and just, you know, the horror of it from that criminal side. And then Fisk really elevated the show, and the presence and tension he brought was great. We got some good backstory from Maya and how her mother died and what brought her and her father to New York. I think Alaqua Cox is still pretty fresh when it comes to acting, being, I believe, her second gig, but she did another fine job. Ultimately, I didn't hate the show. I didn't think it was spectacular. I don't think it does anything egregiously bad. Overall, don't really care about this character or the story they were trying to tell with her. If anything, the show just gets me more excited for Daredevil Born Again, because with a character with actual sauce in the backdrop of New York, with, I believe, 18 episodes, Foggy and Karen confirmed back, new direction, an actual showrunner, and exclusive TV executives with this, you know, refocus on television, I think it could be awesome. I think I understand the character of Maya better after this show, but I honestly can't say I really care anymore about her. So with that being said, I'm going to give Echo a solid 6 out of 10. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I just need more sauce to be applied. Maybe this character works best in other people's stories, and that's totally okay. We don't need a show for every single character. Let's take the Marvel spotlight and just apply that sauce to it, and I think we really will have amazing stuff. Everything is looking like it's going in a better direction, but those are just my thoughts. Let me know, players, what you thought of this show, whether you liked it or not. If you're more interested in the character of Maya or less, what you thought of Fisk's performance, the little Daredevil scene, I want to know it all. But that's pretty much it. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want, subscribe. I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope all of you guys are well, and I will see you in the next one.